All right, let's start the stream. Hello everybody. Now I'm also in the image, good. So if you hear me, just let me know in the chat below. And hello everybody to the second stream on my channel. I hope this one will be much better than the one before, where I had some dropouts of the video due to the fact that I was rendering in Blender in a CPU mode and it was kind of stopping the stream. But you know, there is actually one announcement that I wanted to make, and let me get rid of this banner image first. And this is what we're gonna be doing today. I am going to be showing you how I textured a pillar like this so that it looks kind of like this in the end. I will see. Let me actually get me out of the way. We'll see whether I will achieve the same result, but I'm hoping I will. So before we start with working, and this is of course a substance painter, but before we delve deeper into this, let me actually make an announcement, because here on my Patreon, finally, I've reached $100 mark. So in this, I want to actually mention one certain name, Jason Pullin. I'm sorry if I butchered the name, but actually Jason Pullin just contributed a large sum, thus allowing me to jump over this mark and fulfilling the first goal, which is making regular live streams. So that's what I will be doing from now. Thank you everybody who became my patron, and now let's hide this. Also, I wanted to make this stream somewhat earlier, already last week, but then I realized that I will be at BlenderCon. By the way, this is a t-shirt from BlenderCon, and I'm not sure how many of you were there, but it was a great event. I definitely plan on going next year, and I don't think I ever enjoyed any event such as this, because it was awesome. There was plenty of awesome people, awesome talks that you can actually watch at Blender's channel, one better than the other really. And you know, I really recommend that if you have never been, definitely try Blender Conference. It's in Amsterdam. Just travel there and enjoy it next year yourself. And the next thing I wanted to say before we start with the texturing process is that I started working on my animatic for Heroes of Bronze, and in connection with that I actually tried Grease Pencil for the first time, and my mind is blown, because it's definitely the best tool ever for animatics. I was able to do this just in like an hour. It's nothing special, of course, but I was able to paint in 3D space some semi-2D or semi-3D planes and quickly animate it, and my mind is blown. I will do my animatic for Heroes of Bronze using this tool, and I will enjoy it. So if you haven't tried Grease Pencil yet, definitely try it. And that's it. Now let me actually close Blender. And let's have a look at this. This model is actually, the top part of this model was downloaded from CG Trader. And let me find the model where I got it from. It's here. It's by Creative Masters on CG Trader. And well, I really loved this top of the column, but of course the main part, or the body of the column, it wasn't really ideal, because I wanted to have these sorts of rims along it. That's why I finished it myself with I basically changed the base model and created UVs for it. So I kind of like put together two models. and I put everything on one single UV texture with one material. You won't be probably able to see it now, but I will actually hide myself, and you can see this is just one material with one set of UVs. So I have this column body here and everything else around it. And I think if you are ready, I will put myself in the screen again. If you are ready, I think we can start with the texturing process. Let me actually show you one more thing. This. Completely unrelated, but if you haven't seen the Diablo 4 official announcement trailer, definitely see it because it's awesome. With that out of the way, hello everybody in the comment section. I welcome any comments. Hopefully, if you will have questions, I will be able to read them and answer them. So hello Pavesh, hello Cutter, I guess. Hello Kio17. Hi everybody. Yes, Cutter actually is saying that in ancient Greece it was full of colors, but today we only see white marble. That's exactly it. And I'm actually going to be coloring this Corinthian column in the way that was discovered that these columns were colored. So bright colors, blue, red, some gold also. I'm not sure if they actually put gold on the columns, but I will do that because it looks very nice. So let me actually show you what we will be creating. Here we go. Let me find a picture. This will be the end result. And you can see we have several types of marble, some gold, which is actually bronze. It's not gold, but it looks shiny enough. And some bronze up here as well. So let's do it. All right. Let me actually... Yeah, Qatar is saying in the comment section that in Parthenon, which is one of the most important buildings in Athens, the columns are mostly Doric. And yes, I completely agree. I will actually not use this column in my short film because these columns started appearing, these intricate volute stuff started appearing much later after they were not present in 480 BC. They came like 50 years later. So I will texture it, but in the end I won't use it in my short film. But anyway, it looks really nice, so let's start with it. All right, the very first material that I used as a base for my pillar was the white marble that you can see, that you could see on the image that I just closed. So let me open it again. Here you can see the white marble that I used. So let's put it onto our column. And I have it in my materials here. When I just type in white marble, actually. White marble, you can see it's here. And you probably don't have it because it is a material that I downloaded from Substance Source. So if you pay for subscription to Substance, you can then just go into, not Marvel, Marble. You can then go to Substance Source and just download it here. It's the first one that will pop up when you type in marble. So that's what I did. I downloaded it and put it as a base for my material. And let it work a while. Hopefully my internet connection this time will work properly. So if not, just let me know and I'll see what I can do. But this time it hopefully will hold out. And one more information before we begin. Sorry for all these windows. I actually already baked all my maps onto this model. I only had a high poly model that I used in my baking process, but it was nothing intricate. I didn't sculpt anything. I just had a low poly model of this column, and in Blender I actually used just subdivision surface level 2, and I exported a high poly with the subdivision surface applied. So nothing intricate, I just added this subdivision surface, exported it as high poly, and input it here. And this way, most of my normals were much better quality wise, and everything kind of seems more round and more detailed. This is a little trick that I learned. And I'm sorry, I was a bit ill, so maybe you can hear it on my voice, but hopefully it won't be a problem. I baked everything in 4K resolution. You don't have to. I will actually later put this model on my Patreon, so if you're following with me, you don't have to do it in 4K. You can just use 2K, but 4K was good enough for me, and the 4K resolution is always better than if you go lower quality. And here I didn't have any IDs, so I didn't bake them, and I didn't change anything here. I just used default values, which is what I do mostly for models that are not that important for me, or not models that are not in a close-up for my shots. So I just go with the default values. I know a lot of people like to delve in here and start messing with these settings, but I'm not one of them. So after the baking process finished, I got these maps here: normal map, curvature map, ambient occlusion map. And all these maps, of course, allow Substance Painter to do all its computations. So now let's go back to this white marble layer, and actually let's start adjusting it. And I'm sorry, this image keeps popping up here, but I'll get it out of the way. Good. Destiny, hello. Destiny is asking how I modeled all the details on the top of the column. Well, I basically could have gone in and detail and basically model all of it by hand and extrude stuff, but I didn't really have time for it. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I bought this model from CG Trader. You just type in Corinthian column, I think Corinthian column in CG Trader, and you will find it there. So it's not my model, sorry guys. So let's continue with the texturing. Now let me actually raise the scale of this white marble texture to something like 8, and I have all these values already figured out, so just to save time and headache experimenting with values here, I actually typed these values down, or actually wrote these values down, and now I will know exactly what to type in. So just follow with me, and if you have a question, just ask it. And for the marble roughness, I input everything, I input something like 0.5 and let it work a while. And this is actually very good for the base of my column. All right, so we have this first layer in, and it's already named, so I don't have to rename it or anything. And I think I can continue with the next layer, which is this red marble. So let me put it above my white marble, and you can see how it looks now. And when you open these basic parameters, you can fiddle with the contrast and the hue and the saturation, but we won't actually be doing any of that. Let me actually just Let me actually just change the resolution, or rather the scale of it, to something like 4. And now it's much more detailed, as you can see. And what I want to do is mask it so that it appears only on certain spots of this column. So the first spot that I wanted to put in, let me make a black mask, and with a polygon fill tool, let me actually select faces that I want to color with it. And this is how easy it is when you want to color some polygons in Substance Painter. You just use this polygon fill tool. Here you can choose what type of fill you want. This is the polygon film that I'm using. And just select your faces. And here we go. We can even select these faces down here. And this will actually be much better in an orthographic view, because we won't have any distortion of the camera there. So let's select this as well. And here we go. Very quickly, I added this red coloring to this portion of the column, and I want it up here as well. So again, select the mask, select the polygon fill tool, and select these polygons. And here we are. First part done. Very good. Cool. Let me actually do one thing, because this is a model that is very high, and I have this vertical window here. So let me actually reorder all this so that it's kind of more manageable. So I put all the windows to the left, and now I can see this model much better. So yeah, this will save me some headache. There are some questions. Okay, actually I can't really answer any of these, so let me continue with the process. So after I have created this colored part, I actually want this red to be more red. But when I go into the settings of this layer, and for example here in the basic parameters, I increase the saturation. Well, it looks good, but what we can also do is to create a fill layer, disable all the channels except for the color, and fill it with this red color. And now just copy the mask from this layer, add a new layer to this new fill layer, I'll make it black mask, and paste into mask, so that we have the same mask as down below. And with it, I can color the red marble to my liking. So use a soft light blending mode, and see the difference? I like the color much more now. Cool. Yeah, this is starting to shape up. Good. So the next phase is actually, we will group these two layers. Let me just first name this red coloring and group it and name it red marble. I don't have to do this, but I like to name my stuff and group it properly so that I don't get lost in it. Next thing is the blue stuff. So again, just as we did with this red color, we actually can just duplicate this layer by right-clicking on it. Let's get it out of this group and remove this mask. Set it to normal. Now it's filling everything on our model. Change it to blue, some blue like this, for example. Good. And I keep looking at the question. Sorry, I'm alone here for this, so I will sometimes stop my work and have a look at the questions. Jason Pullin, hello, you're my hero. You just I mentioned you at the beginning of the live stream, and Jason is actually asking if I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Yes, I played it. I really love the world that they created, and a lot of the stuff I'm making is actually inspired by the game. So yes, very good game. Shit story. Sorry for the word, but I enjoyed it all the same, and I actually still play it because the authors just released the discovery mode, and you can learn about ancient history in it. So if you haven't played the discovery tour, definitely do. All right, so let's name this color blue coloring, and set it to multiply. You see, now we have this marble pattern coming right through the coloring. And again, just as we did before, add a black mask and start coloring this, because let me pull out my reference, which is here. So in this reference, you can see that I have this coloring here. So we will fill these regions. Okay, this might take a while, but let's do this. Let's actually use this UV chunk fill tool, and with this color set to 1, start filling these chunks. Let me again check which parts did I choose, and it's this, and the little dots here. Cool. Oh, all right. And we don't have to actually be all that faithful to the reference that I have there, because that actually took some time to finish. But with the UV chunk fill tool, I'm now filling these chunks here. And sometimes when you select with the drag select tool, stuff on the other side of the model gets selected, so watch out for that. And yes, I colored some leaves now, but actually I think these top ones I will later color red. So let me again go into the UV chunk fill tool, set this color to 0 or black, so that I get rid of this mask and get rid of these parts. Again, and maybe color these guys back here. So yeah, this might be nice. Cool. This will look good when it's finished. And I think, yes, we have a blue color down here as well. So let's go down here. And let's see if I color this with the UV chunk fill tool. Ah, yes, it's a whole big chunk of UV, so that will not work. But I can, again, with the polygon fill tool, just select it like this. And this way I achieved what I wanted, coloring just this stripe here. This one and this one will be then colored in the gold color, or rather the bronze material that I use instead of gold. Okay, so this is the second layer. And Cutter, who seems to be an expert on ancient Greek history or architecture, just wrote into the comment section that the inventor of the Corinthian column, I guess, is the sculptor Callimachos. So thank you, I didn't know that. So with this done, with this blue layer done, let me continue with the red coloring on the leaves, and just duplicate this layer again. Red coloring will be the name. Clear the mask so that we don't have it there. And let's again create a red color for this, and then start filling these UV chunks with this tool. Oops. Careful with the clicking in Substance Painter. Oftentimes if you click and drag, this happens. So careful with that. You probably don't want that. You want to control what you're coloring. Cool. This is looking nice. And let me actually color this stuff as well. If you expected painting, not in this live stream. I will actually be mostly just clicking and then working with some smart materials, or rather smart masks and generators here in Substance Painter. Nice. What I actually can do as well, this will take some time. Let me add a paint layer on this blue coloring layer, and we can try to activate symmetry on this. So up here, up here, since I reordered my windows, I'm kinda now distracted and don't know where my icons are, but here is the mirroring, and since our model is symmetrical, this could work, but no, I can see that this won't work. I wanted to try to mirror painting all these little details here, but no, it won't work. So I wish I had a fast forward, but I want to color this stuff here, and I'm thinking of a quick way to do it. Let's actually look into our viewport, or 2D viewport, and see where these little guys are. That's something I should have done in UVing phase. Basically thinking about how to divide these UVs and detach these little guys so that I could texture it quickly. But let's actually just go around the model and texture it like this. You know, not everything can be automatic, and sometimes you will have to go in, paint on your model by hand, remove by hand. It's all right. It won't hurt you. So paint like this. There isn't too many of these, so it won't take too long, I think. And if it's not completely perfect, excuse me. I would make it perfect if I wasn't recording this for the live stream, but yeah, now perfect is not the goal in this live stream. So I'm coloring with a basic brush. And by the way, you probably saw me changing the hardness of this brush. I do that by holding down Control and right mouse dragging up and down. And by the way, if you want to learn some of these keyboard shortcuts, you can just hold down Control and all the shortcuts available will be shown to you. This works for Shift as well. Basically any key that's in Substance Painter. And let me actually just save this real quick. And in the meantime, I have time to look at the comments. And Jason, yeah, Jason is writing that doing it by hand adds a little imperfection. Yes, that's exactly it. You understand me, sir. So let me continue with this process. And in the meantime, you can have a look at the Diablo 4 trailer, for example. No, that would mean that you would switch from this live stream, so I don't want to send you away. I will have this ready in no time. By the way, the Blender conference really inspired me into finishing this film as soon as possible, because there was so many awesome talks by so many awesome authors who are themselves making short films and know best how to create one. For example, Andy Goralczyk, and I hope that I just pronounced it correctly. The director of the Spring movie had his talk there, and it was awesome. I was really inspired by the creative process on that film. So congratulations, Blender team, for that. And it seems that these UVs aren't that great, so I will actually finish this process here in the 3D viewport. And we will cover these imperfect areas actually in the process of adding the bronze, because on all these little stuff here, it will be covered with bronze. So if there's something imperfect here, I will correct that later. Jason is asking if I have a timeline for the film. Currently, I am finishing the models for the film, and I am making animatic with the grease pencil. It's real awesome. And by the way, you could see that there was this artifact. Yeah, here, there is this artifact. If this happens to you, don't be scared. You can actually just rotate and it will disappear. It's a thing that happens sometimes in Substance Painter. Don't be scared by that. Back to the question. Sorry, Jason. I have a timeline for finishing all the models that I need till the end of this year. I will probably disappoint you now. And I will then start putting together the scenes. I will have the animatic ready also at the end of this year. Then some music will start, some voiceover, and finishing all the works for the film will take me another year. So this stuff takes time. I don't have it as my main job, unfortunately. It would be awesome to have it as a main job, but I don't really have that luxury just yet. But thanks to your contributions, I am actually closing in on that goal. So hopefully one day, maybe, for creators like us, Patreon, well, already some creators could, thanks to Patreon, make their dream projects basically their main line of work. So that's what I'm hoping for, but I'm not there yet. But I'm getting closer. So yeah. And it seems this is the last one. It's an interesting experience trying to talk to you while working, but it's not really as hard as I expected. Hopefully I'm not talking too bad. But thanks for the questions in the comments. I just rotate around, but as I said, this doesn't need to be that perfect, and I will cover it with the bronze layer anyway. So that's it for the coloring. And by the way, cool thing about this method of painting on a paint layer is that you can hide it at any time. With the previous one, with this coloring here, I actually didn't do that. I painted directly on my mask, and the only way to hide it here is to toggle it on and off, which is not ideal. But with these paint layers, you can add one layer, then paint over it with another layer, and combine them together, even add different blending modes. So definitely recommend it to use these paint layers. DN, hello, is asking how do I know which colors were on the pillars? Well, I'm just guessing from the Greek art and the colors that they usually used. And also I was inspired by some artwork from Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I'm not saying this is historically correct. I was just going with something I do like. And hello, Pavel Vičík. Zdravím tě, kamaráde. Jsem rád, že jsi tady. Sorry for the Czech language. From now on, it will be again in English. I just greeted my friend. So, this is for the coloring phase. Let's again group it. Coloring. And interesting thing happened now. You can see that my blending modes now disappeared after I grouped these two layers. That's because when I grouped it, this group inherited a normal blending mode. It needs to be in a pass-through mode for the blending modes to be retained. Good. This is ready. Let's move on, and we will actually create our first bronze layer. I will not be creating the bronze material. I will not be creating the bronze material in this live stream. Actually, for that, you can have a look at my creating the historical asset. I think now I don't remember the name of my own tutorial, but let me actually find it real quick. And I have a whole tutorial series on my channel on creating a historical asset, architectural asset. Yes, that's the name. I will post it into the discussion, and it's also in the cards of this live stream, so you can just open it, and there we create a material which is called bronze bowl. By the way, if you don't want to create it based on this tutorial that I just mentioned, you can also become my patron, and on the Patreon page there is one of the latest assets that I shared there is this substance material, so you can just download it from there. All right, cool. Nocte is asking, why am I standing? Because I have a standing table. I really like it, and I have this option to just lower this table and sit down. But actually, when I'm talking or recording tutorials or doing work like this, it helps me think to stand. So that's a little peculiarity of mine. All right. Diane is asking, how did I make the Corinthian column? I already answered this question at the beginning. There is this Corinthian column on CG Trader. I downloaded, I bought the model from Creative Masters. I downloaded and used this top part of it, and I created the body for it myself. And for the body, you can actually use a CG cookie tutorial that I think on my channel, I recommended it several times already. And just search for Greek temple CG cookie, and you will find a tutorial for a really good Greek column there. All right, let me now put this bronze bowl onto my model, and hopefully it won't crash. Good, this is how it didn't crash. And this is how this bronze that I created in that architectural tutorial series, this is how it looks. What I want to do now is to mask it so that it, of course, doesn't appear on all of our column, even though it looks pretty good, doesn't it? All right, done. I like it this way. No. Let's finish the process. All right, so let me have a look at my cheat sheet here. So let me add a black mask to this whole group, and to this black mask add a generator. I do it through this window here, which is adding effect. I add a generator, and in this generator socket, let me find this metal edgeware, which is perfect for what I want. And already you can see that the default value is quite okay for me, but I will actually play around with the values a bit. But before that, I will save and look at the comments. Cutter is saying that the red porphyro color is the king trademark color in Byzantine Empire. Didn't know that. Mertpal, hello, is asking if I'm going to make a low poly version of this column and make and apply the maps to it. Actually, this is quite a low poly version already. Let me create, let me show you the wireframe here. Well, okay, I was mistaken. Not really that low poly, but it definitely isn't that high poly. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this live stream, when talking about baking these maps, I actually took a low poly model and baked a high poly model onto it. And the high poly model consists just of a model that I applied smoothing to in Blender, and then applied the subdivision modifier, if you know your way around in Blender, and then exported this high poly version, and that was just it. I didn't sculpt anything, I just applied the subdivision modifier at a level of 2 and used it as a high poly model for my baking. Let me hide the wireframe here. But to answer the question, nope. Probably not. I don't really have time to create low poly version for everything. Besides, I'm not making a game. I'm making a short film, and I don't really need to use low poly models. I will probably be using high poly models, a lot of them. So, yep. Jonáš Kirchner, hello. Korinský sloh, ano. Corinthian column we're making today. So let me have a check the settings that I used for this metal edgeware. That you can see, I'm using this metal edgeware generator here to mask out the edges of this. And I used 0.7 for the wear level. I used 0.5 for the wear contrast. I used grunge scale at the level of 4, which remains the same, and also these values are the same. So yeah, almost nothing changed, which is okay. And of course, I don't want this bronze to be everywhere on this column. I want it to be only up here. So let me add a new paint layer. Let me add a new paint layer above this. And now with this paint layer, I will show you how you can combine this metal edgeware or any generator and custom paint quite easily. You just use a paint layer above your generator, you use this polygon fill or basic painting with your brush, and you start painting away with a black color areas that you don't want textured with this generator. That's how easy it is. And actually, to save time, I will again use this polygon fill tool. I will use this UV chunk and just get rid of all the texturing. Oh no. Yes. Let me actually get rid of all the texturing here by one click on this UV chunk. And what we did was to get rid of the bronze from all of the body of the column. And we can get rid of it even from here. I want it down here on the pedestal. And believe me, I remembered the names, the English names for various parts of this column, but I completely forgot it now. So if you remember how these different parts, I know these are called volutes, yeah, I guess, something like that. But I'm at a complete loss now for what the rest of it is called. So sorry for that, and let me know in the comments if you know these names. Let me have a quick look at the comments. Deanne is asking again, when will I finish my short film? I answered this sometime earlier, but let me answer it again. I am currently finishing the models, and after New Year, I will start putting together the final scenes. And then it will take like a year to finish the film. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So yeah, it's a long time, but it's my personal project, so it takes time. Okay, let me continue. Am I missing something or an important part? Nocta is saying that when he works in Substance Painter, he always faces anti-aliasing issues. Well, what I know is that you can increase anti-aliasing somewhere in here. No, I think it's in the it's only in the rendering. So I'm not sure. I can't really help you. I don't think I have these issues, or I don't know enough to help you with that. So I'll have a look at that, and maybe next time I will be able to answer this question. Anti-aliasing issues in Substance Painter. All right, what I want next is to add another paint layer and actually texture this stripe of the column. So let me again jump into the polygon fill tool, and sorry, I will have a sip of water because I'm kind of losing my voice here. I was recording tutorials all day today, and now I'm at the end with my voice. But let's just finish the stripe here. Oh, that's looking nice. All right, good. And we will texture these in with a separate bronze material somewhat later. Okay. Jonas, yeah, thank you for the for the Czech names for that. I think I remember those, but I actually don't remember them in English. Maybe someone else will type them here in English. Heisenberg is asking, hello Heisenberg, is asking how did I learn Blender? Well, YouTube mostly, and also I can recommend CG Blender Guru, of course, the channel. I learned a lot of like about everything there. Concerning Blender, of course, and also Zach Reinhardt, or currently his channel is called CG Boost, and he has great tutorials for sculpting and even Blender fundamental tutorials, so I recommend that one as well. All right, back to work. Let me check what I am doing next. Okay. For the next layer, we will actually just, again, use this bronze bowl. And I will focus now on these little parts here. So I just want this to take effect only in this area. So let me just create a black mask. Add a paint layer to this mask, and with a polygon fill tool, select it like this. Cool. And now I want to get rid of this area here that we already painted with the blue color, if you remember. So if I hide this, and let me name these layers actually. Bronze edges and bronze edges little, for example. And now I don't want to trace all this again. I just want to copy the information that I already painted for this blue layer. So the way I can do this is to copy this mask, paste into mask, and invert it. See? This way I achieved the result that I wanted. I basically removed only these parts that I already painted, and now I have these edges from bronze. Well, and I have this problem again that everything else is filled now. But what we can do now is add another paint layer and get rid of this stuff with our polygon fill tool. Just of course with the black color to remove mask, and just select everything up here and select everything here. Let me actually zoom in to see what I'm doing. And yeah, this is looking fine, I think. Cool. In the original result, I think that this part was actually white. We'll see whether we can do that quickly. So another paint layer, and with the polygon fill tool, which is quickly becoming my favorite tool of this tutorial, let's click on this UV chunk. No, unfortunately, this part is not divided, which is a shame, because if I wanted to remove the mask from this, I would have to do it by hand and it would take a lot of time. So let's not do it in this tutorial. I may do it afterwards. But it looks great anyway, so who cares? And actually there are these problematic regions that I can now hand paint in, just as I mentioned that this will be covered. So I'm covering these regions now quickly and easily. And in the meantime, I will actually have a look at the comments. Yeah. Sorry, Jonas. I'm doing this. I'm doing this in English, so I think I have it in the notification, in the description of this video, that everything will be in English. So I won't be speaking in Czech here, but I believe it doesn't really matter. Cool. So quite quickly, getting a lot of details on these. This is good. I like it. Oh, by the way, did you know, to try out your brush, you can paint in this window here, which is basically completely useless, but it's a fun thing. Okay. Good. This is looking nice. This is looking nice. Alrighty. So getting there. No, you're not quite okay. I didn't mean it as a criticism. So the next layer that we will create is just a quick one, and it's for these guys down here. So let's actually not create another bronze layer. Let's just add a paint layer for this mask, and again with the polygon fill tool, zoom in, and of course now is a time for a value of 1 here, because we want to be adding a mask, and select these faces here and remove these faces here, and that's it. Oh, there's something missing here. I actually think that I want to have a red color here. So let me actually go to this red marble down here and expand the mask to these polygons as well. So with a value of 1, adding a mask, and carefully select this too. Cool. Now everything is in order, and you can see this is starting to look pretty good. Next thing that I created is actually this top part, and the only thing I want to change here is adding a bit of bronze here. So let me add another paint and quite quickly paint it in. This is a really powerful way to combine your generators with your hand painting. This is something I do all the time when working in Substance, so get used to it. Just take your generators or for example, here, take your generators and put, and if you want to then paint over what the generator created, just add a paint layer and paint on it or subtract from it, and we'll achieve a lot of things with this workflow. All right, nice. And this last one, you can see that when I zoom in, the details are not really that great, but that doesn't really bother me, because the way I'm going to use this, not actually in my film, but for a scene I have in mind, is from about this distance. So I think the details are quite enough for that. And now what we can do is add a little dirt to our material. So let me actually close all these groups and group them under a name bronze. And just to be sure, set it to pass through, but it doesn't really change anything. And now for the dirt. I'll have a look if you have questions. L11 is asking whether I created this pillar. Once again, I will mention where I took it from. Let me show this website. It's CG Trader model that I bought and downloaded, and in Blender I then used the top part of it, and for the main body I created my own model, and I combined the UVs from the bot model with the UVs that I created for this main body of the pillar, and this is how I created it. I believe this top part wasn't sculpted, it was actually modeled and extruded, modeled shapes, extruded to achieve this. And there is actually a great tutorial, there are several great tutorials online for how to create Corinthian column. And also when you find CG Cookie Greek Temple on YouTube, there is a great tutorial for creating this part of the column, so try it. And okay, let's continue. So for the dirt now, there is one part first that I want to make a little darker, and it is this one. So let me create a first dirt layer. Let me show you a cool thing that you may not have known about Substance Painter. When you create a fill layer like this, and you know you want to use just one channel, you don't have to unclick everything like this. Instead, you can just hold down Alt and click on this channel, and all the other ones will get automatically deselected. It will save you like 5 seconds or 3 seconds, but you know, these things add up into minutes, years, lifetimes. So it's just a neat trick. So let me actually activate this roughness again, make it to something like let me have a look at that, very high, like 0.9, and darken it like this, for example. So this will be our dirt layer. Make a black mask, dirt1 will be the name. Use the polygon fill tool, and with this polygon fill, activate it and set to 1. Just fill this here and unfill this here, because I just want it in this little crevice here, as well as this one here. So one more polygon fill with the number set to 1. Cool. So this is a little darkening now in the crevice here, but of course it's too regular. We could do this in a lot of ways to make it less regular, but let me show you. And actually, I'm sorry, my bad. Let me clear the mask again and use a paint layer for it to work, for this technique to work better. So I will just paint it in again. Down here as well. Shit. Sorry for the strong language. And actually we have one more crevice here, so fill it as well. And one more here. And one more here. How could I miss those guys? They're right there. Ah, well, good thing I'm doing this again. And one more here. So that's it for the crevices. And what I want to do now is to add a fill layer above this paint. And basically I will add a fill layer that is filled with a grunge texture, and I will subtract from this paint. Yeah, so let's add a fill. And now basically what happened was I filled this whole mask with a 50% gray. See here? But we have this option here to input a texture to this socket, to this grayscale socket. So let me type in grunge dirt scratched. It's this one right here. Yeah, I think the default value is quite okay. And let me set this, for this fill layer, let me set this blending mode to multiply. And see what happened? Instead of having this full layer here, it subtracted from it and made it look like a dirt. And finally, because I don't want these extra, like perfectly hard edges in here, let me actually add a filter, choose blur, and blur it with a value like 0.1. All that for this tiny little effect, I know. But yeah, now we have this ambient occlusion effect in the crevice. But I think we all learned something. We can even lower the opacity of this, because now it may be too intense, so something like 70 is nice. And let's rename it to dirt crevice, I think. Good. And this is a basic dirt layer that I will actually duplicate and use for all the other dirt layers. So let me duplicate it, delete all these. Dirt 1, we will name this one, and save my work. Hopefully the stream didn't crash on you now. Just let me know if you can still hear me, because my computer kind of lagged right now. But hopefully everything is okay and I can continue. 11 is saying that the texture is looking dope. I'm glad you think so, sir. So thank you. Yeah, all right, let's continue with the texturing. Let's have a look at this thing. This is looking good. And with this dirt one, we have this black mask, so nothing's visible right now. And we will actually add a new generator to this dirt layer. Set it to multiply and add a generator. One of my favorite generators actually, or rather smart masks. If you add rust drips, yes, that's the one. So just use this smart mask, name it, type in rust and rust drips and drag it here. And wow, that's an effect, isn't it? You can see. You know, one thing that I just realized is that you're probably looking at this stream with a filter that I have applied called Flux. And let me disable it and see what happens. Maybe you will see it too in your live stream. Sorry for that. I'm still learning how to do these live streams, so next time I'll remember that. I will write it somewhere with big red letters. So maybe it is better now. By the way, I recommend Flux. You can download it and use it on your computer, and it saves your eyes when you're working late at night, which is the best time to work, right? Most of graphic artists do work at these hours. Okay, so this dirt may be a bit too much right now, okay? So let me actually set up a different setting for this dripping rust. So let's lower this rust spreading to something like 0.2. Let's increase the rust contrast to 0.45, I think. Might be nice. And then 0.33 for the drips, or maybe higher. Yeah, I like it. Actually, we can go higher with the rust spreading as well. And drips amount 64. Let's have a look at it. Well, that's a pretty dirty Corinthian column, so maybe let's lower it again. Yeah. Drips intensity 0.4, and maybe lower the drips amount, or not. Okay. And of course we can go in, and just as I mentioned earlier, at any time you can add this paint layer and start painting away where you don't want the dirt to be. You can do it actually not just with the default brush, but also in this brushes shelf. You can choose, for example, I have this Dirt 1, my favorite brush for this sort of work, and with it you can start painting. And currently I'm working with my mouse, so nothing fancy. I have my Cintiq. Right over there, but this is a mouse work. But for that, this Dirt 1 brush is perfect. And actually, let me lower the intensity of this HDRI map. Let me open this tab here, and the exposure, let's lower it to 0.3, for example. Good, that's a little better. I actually don't like this map at all. So let's try a different one for different lighting. Corsica Beach, maybe. Mondara, too flat. This one, yeah, this one's better. Okay, good. Yeah, with this HDRI, Canopus Ground it's called, it even has a better specular, so that's what I like. Cool. And we can even, with this paint map, paint in some dirt where we want it. Cool, right? And in the end, let me actually lower the opacity of this dirt layer to something like 50. So we dirtied, I guess, something like that. We dirtied this column pretty nice, maybe too much, but it doesn't really matter. If you'll be following the tutorial, you can dirty it any way you want. And finally, the last step, Dirt 2. So let's just duplicate this layer. Remove the effects that we added on it. Wow, this will be really dirty. And add a different smart mask called Dirt. It's right, this first one. And it adds an overall soft effect to the whole thing. can see that it's even breaking up this perfect reflection here. So that's what I wanted. Combined with the previous dirt, it adds a little more randomness to the thing. And that's it. We have just textured the whole column. I will hit Ctrl S to save my work. And let's have a look at the questions, if there are some new questions. Yeah, good. No new questions, just comments about the texturing, and it seems people like what I created. So thank you for that. Thank you for watching. We can actually, before I end this stream, we can actually add some effects to it. In this tab here in the display settings, there is this activate post effects. So what I did was to add a little bit of glare, and it will be better visible when I open it. Increase the luminance, maybe decrease the threshold, and you can see those little glints. I love those. Yeah, so that's what you can do with glare. And also depth of field, maybe. Increase the aperture. Of course, I forgot I am in the orthographic mode, so let's use the perspective mode. Change the light a bit. And in the depth of field, increase the aperture. And let's right click here. And we have a little depth of field. Not that it looks that great, but you know, a little thing. I'm sorry, I'm still a bit ill. After the BlenderCon, I actually spent several days in bed recuperating. So I am still a bit ill. Hopefully that did not spoil this live stream for you, my hoarse voice. Last thing I will do is to group this dirt and of course set it to pass through to retain my blending modes on these layers. And yeah, with this we created pretty nice material. Let me actually disable the depth of field effect. I don't really like it that much in Substance Painter, to be honest. So we created a white marble from Substance Source. We added a red variation to all. We added some coloring. The bronze material that I created in the architectural asset course that you can watch freely on my YouTube. And finally a dirt to bring it all together. And that's the result. That's how I created texturing for this Corinthian column. And that's how I texture the other columns that I use in my short film Heroes of Bronze. And if you like this video, you will be pleased to know that I will be doing more tutorials in the future. And actually, I will repeat, I just passed on my Patreon, I just passed this $100 per month goal, and that means that I will start making these live streams more regular. So yeah, more tutorials for you. All right, if you have some questions, ask them now. Lubomir is writing, good job. Thank you, Lubomir. And the next tutorial that I'm planning is actually one on Marvelous Designer again, and I will try to show you how to animate the clothing that we create in Marvelous Designer. By the way, the Marvelous Designer tutorial is quickly becoming my most watched tutorial on my channel. I will quickly find it. So this tutorial how to quickly create clothing using Blender and Marvelous Designer now has almost 40,000 views, which is awesome, and I never expected that, to be honest. But in the next part of this tutorial, in the second part, I created textures for this garment in Substance Painter, and in the next part I will try to show you how to animate this clothing and export the animation to Blender. That is, by the way, something that was done in the short film from the Netflix series Blood, Love, Death, Robots. Yeah, something like that. In the one short film called Witness, I think. Love, Death, Robots, Witness. Yes, that's it. And in this short film, they actually used Marvelous Designer for animating the clothing. So that's a tutorial I'm working on now, and hopefully I will find the solution for it, because it's not that easy, or rather it's not that easy to export stuff from Marvelous to Blender. Oh well. And William Silva is saying that my work is an inspiration. Thank you, sir. That's always good to hear. Nicely done. Thank you for all these wonderful comments. Sorry. Thank you for all these wonderful comments. Let's have one last look-see at this pillar that we textured in this live stream. And yeah, try to texture these architectural assets on your own. It's not that hard, as you can see. All right, I'll be leaving. Actually, I have a film to look at. The King is now on Netflix, so that's what I'm planning for today evening. So hope you are all great, you are enjoying the weekend, and this live stream I will record and put on YouTube so that anyone who couldn't make it in time to catch this live stream will be able to replay it again. So yeah, until next time, my friends. Thank you, and with that, I'm stopping this stream. So, bye-bye.